The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Johners, live on a Thursday evening, episode 288. We're doing very, very well. I think this is something like our 12th or 13th interview of 2023. We've just entered March, but I've got a wonderful guest for a Thursday evening, the man behind No Mercy Wrestling. Can't wait to talk to this individual, the Bastard Son BEVAN. BEVAN, how are you doing? And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hello, Johners. I am very well, and thank you so much for having me. I've been waiting to come on here for a while, and now we're doing it finally. We got some time
doing it. Absolutely. And it's going to be a fantastic episode. And it's running along the bottom of the screen. But if you want to get in touch with the show, if you want to send BEVAN any questions, any comments for the show, anything you want to ask, please do so. Send your questions through to us using your chosen device. They'll ping through to us, and we'll do our very best to bring up all questions on the screen and get them answered during the course of this live interview. But before we start with our questions for BEVAN, just a quick reminder, because our subscriptions on YouTube have been going absolutely through the roof. I think we've had about 50 new subscribers in the last couple of weeks, but some guests that we've had on the show already in 2023, and some that BEVAN might already be aware of. But to kick off the year, we had Jetta, and then we had the brilliance, James Ellis on the show, second week of January. We went on to Truman Roswell, and then, of course, that damn dirty dog Gene Money. And we finished off January with Tom Dawkins, Cara Noir. So January was an absolutely packed month. So 5 amazing interviews to go and check out there. We kicked off February with Boulderama, Splits McPins, and Lloyd Katz, of course. That was a really fun interview with those two. And then we had Bullet doing some wonderful things up and down the UK. And, of course, he had an amazing Sunday afternoon in the ballroom for Progress this past weekend. We had SoCal Val in February as well. And a couple of weeks ago, we had the wonderful Liver Bird, Lizzie Evo, on the show. Last week, 2 fantastic guests from the South Wales area. Harrison Bennett, of course, on the Monday, and Bronco Brendan White, the workhorse himself, was on the show last Thursday. We spoke about their careers, and of course with Brendan we spoke about New Wave Academy. And I announced a couple of days ago my lineup for this month, my lineup for March. It starts today with the Bastard Son BEVAN, of course. Then we got Sanity, former NXT Tag Team Champions, WWE combo, Big Damo and Axel Tisha there. Sanity from the Electric Ballroom. Check that out. That drops tomorrow across all of my social channels and YouTube. James Mason is on the show next Monday, and I've got Shane Hooker coming on the show later on in the month. And of course, we've got a solo interview with Big Damo happening next Tuesday. So we've got a double bill next week. James Mason, legendary UK wrestler and trainer, on the Monday. Big Damo on the Tuesday. Other interviews include The Odyssey, Artemis and Adonis Payne. And of course, you've got part 2 of my Johnny Kidd Legends Masterclass interview. And we round off the month with CJ Rollins, somebody that BEVAN might be aware of, because I think he's featured on one of your shows. But BEVAN, we are almost just over a week, probably a fortnight away from your next show at No Mercy Wrestling, and it's this one here, my friends. Sweep the Leg, the next show from No Mercy Wrestling from Caerphilly, and that is Sunday the 19th of March, and exactly a year to the day to when you had your first No Mercy Wrestling show, my friends. So it's been a whirlwind of 12 months. But Sunday the 19th will mark your year anniversary of No Mercy Wrestling in the ring. How does that feel?
It's crazy, like, saying that out loud, that it's been a year since the first. It feels a lot longer, trust me. It really, really does. It feels like, I don't know, 5 years or something. Like, I've definitely aged 5 years since that year. Show, when you put it that way. But yeah, it's crazy to think about it, like where we've come from to where we are now. It's just absolutely insane. Obviously, back then, I didn't even know if I was going to have a second show, never mind a 1-year anniversary. So the fact that we've got to this 1-year milestone and obviously beyond, we've got plans past it, of course, as well. It's just amazing, such an amazing feeling. And yeah, it's just mental. It's crazy. I never thought I'd get there, but here we are.
Yeah, yeah. And thinking back to that, obviously we're going to be celebrating 1 full year of No Mercy Wrestling in a couple of weeks' time, the 19th of March. But how did the concept of No Mercy Wrestling actually start? And when did you kind of have that light bulb moment that you wanted to start your own promotion? Tell us about the origins of No Mercy.
Well, I never actually had any plans to do shows or a promotion side of it, really. No Mercy started as an idea of just having a place to train, not even a school, just a place where already established wrestlers could come and just get ring time, basically. It all came from the ashes of the pandemic, like a lot of ideas lately have been. So I'd left my previous training school just before the pandemic hit. Obviously, the world shut down. There was nothing going on. So wrestling, of course, had to shut down too. And when I started, when it was kind of obvious that, you know, the lockdowns were going to finish, I started to really think about where I could go. Because obviously I needed to go somewhere to train. And nowhere was open in Wales at that time. And where I lived at the time in Swansea, it was, well, there's very little there, let's put it that way. So my only options really were to like travel into England, whether that be the southwest or up to like the Midlands or something, because that's all London way. So I was really in a pickle. I was like, well, I can either travel and spend hours and hours traveling, lots of money trying to get to these places, or I had to think of another idea. And I was talking with some friends. We were actually on a Zoom call back when everyone was doing Zoom calls over lockdown. We were doing a quiz.
I hadn't even heard of Zoom until the pandemic hit, to be honest with you. So that was a complete phenomenon. Took the world by storm.
I'll tell you what I wish I'd done. I wish I'd gotten some shares in Zoom, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we were just having a conversation. I was talking to my friends about it. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Obviously, I want to train. So one of my friends was just like, kind of like half joking, half serious. He was like, why don't you just make your own? And I was like, shut up, don't be stupid. I could never open a place to train. And he was like, why not? And I sat there and I thought about it for about a couple of days. And I was like, it's a good point. Why not? You know, I'm very, very much a believer of living by the whole why not thing. Like, if you don't take a risk, you're just going to be staying still. And I'm a big believer in safety, like staying in the same place and playing it safe is the killer of all creativity. And I live my life that way. So I was like, I need to take this risk. And I also live a lot by seeing signs. And I was scrolling through Facebook the next day and I was on Marketplace and I saw a wrestling ring for sale on Marketplace. And I was like, that is a sign. That's an omen.
It was meant to be.
That's meant to be. I've got to take it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I messaged the guy. And yeah, within like a couple of hours, I bought the wrestling ring. It was crazy. Yeah. But the only thing was it was in Glasgow. And obviously you got South Wales and you got Glasgow. So you're talking a good 7-8 hour drive one way. So I was a bit stuck there. So yeah, that story of going to get the ring, that would take another 2 hours, but it was absolutely insane. I could write a film about it. It was so crazy, the things that happened. I ended up having to go like twice, because the first time I went up, the guy didn't give me the right measurements, so I got the wrong size van. So I had to drive back. No. Then I had to go back up another time with the right size van, but it still didn't fit. So I needed to get another van. It was absolutely crazy, but we got the ring. So as I said, my original plan was just to have a ring in like a unit and just have it as a private use type of thing, where some other of my friends could come and train and just, you know, get the ring rust off from over lockdowns. And that was my plan. That was it. I had no plans to open a school, no plans to do a promotion. I was just going to have the ring in the unit, and that was it. Yeah. So that grew from there. Funnily enough, the only reason I actually called it No Mercy Wrestling, not many people know this. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. I think that's quite obvious.
I was going to ask, yeah. It does kind of jump off the page a mile, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the name come from. But I literally only came up with the name because when I applied for my facility where No Mercy is based, I had to put a name of a business.
Yeah.
and I didn't have a name for the business. It wasn't a business at the time, so I was like, damn, what can I do? What can I do? And I had to send the form off that day. So I was like, I needed to come up with something like then and there. So I just thought, I was watching the TV at the time and Cobra Kai was on. I was like, screw it, No Mercy Wrestling. Put that in. I never thought about it. And then it kind of blew up and became its own monster. And I find like the best ideas come out of situations like that, where it's like, it's not thought about, it's not premeditated. It's just, I was like, that sounds nice. No Mercy Wrestling, rolls off the tongue. Let's go for it.
Another one of them like fortuitous signs, though, Bevan. To be honest, it's just meant to be, isn't it? And like I say, you've always been a fan of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, and like I say, you've kind of themed a lot of your shows around the Cobra Kai and Karate Kid shows and concepts, and a lot of the popular phrases from that show. We are going to take a deep dive into the wrestling school a bit later on, and the wrestling show as well. Now, let me just bring up another graphic, because I think that the first time we actually met face to face was at a Slam Master show last October. But then at the end of October, we had this wonderful show here. And like I say, I did backstage reporting, backstage interviews with you and all of the talent that day. An absolutely fantastic show. Myself and my cameraman Jay was there. You really looked after us, and all the talent were fantastic. Really eager to be a part of them backstage interviews. But the show itself was tremendous. And some of the talent that I kind of was introduced to for the first time, the likes of Shane Hooker and Oliver Sudden. And I think Oliver Sudden is probably one of the best wrestling names in the UK. I know he's been around for a few years, but I absolutely love that. And what a character. Shane Hooker's coming on the show in a few weeks' time. But take us back to that day, that Halloween show. And it was Cobra Kyber Halloween. Is that right?
That's right.
I've got to say, I think I butchered the name of that show quite a bit during the backstage interviews. But like I say, I think I edited them quite well in the end. But
I'll tell you what, I didn't notice, so you did well.
But we take us back to the day, because you had some tremendous matches, and that match there kicked us off, didn't it? Boulder Armor versus Oliver Sudden and Shane Hooker, and two tremendous teams there. But like I was absolutely blown away with Oliver Sudden's size and strength, and he's just such a character in the ring, such a huge babyface, so popular with the fans. And then Shane Hooker, a little bit more on the quieter side, but I tell you what, he's 1,000 miles per hour in the ring, and the aerial acrobats and the dynamics of that gentleman, that young lad, is off the charts. But what a way to kick things off last October.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, just like as you said, all of a sudden, as you said, best wrestling name I've ever heard in my life. It's so good.
It makes me chuckle every time I think about it.
It's one of those things that came out of nowhere, like just going off on tangent a little bit. It was one of his mates that just came up with it one day, and he was like, "You should wrestle as that." And he was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And then here we are. So again, great example of things just coming out of nothing. But like Ollie is all of a sudden is kind of like, he's like my right hand man in No Mercy Wrestling. He does a lot behind the scenes that not many people realize. Like, he supports me in many different ways that I won't dribble on with. But he's a very, very important, integral part of No Mercy, same as everyone else, but especially all of a sudden. And Shane, I mean, what can I say about Shane? You pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like, obviously he's more with New Wave Academy now, which is brilliant. But he started with us. He started with No Mercy Wrestling, and when he first came to me, he was like this shy little mousy lad who like wouldn't say boo to a goose. Would just stand there with his hands in, but never say anything. And to see him from there to where he is now, it's like, genuinely, I get more joy and more pleasure out of seeing other people get ahead that I've been involved with than myself, because it's just like I can see how I've helped people, and I can see that, like as we all know, Shane is going to go unbelievably far. And
big time, yeah.
Just the fact that I had this tiny little amount of help that helped him get there, I'm just really proud of him, and I'm so happy for him as well that he's going as far as he is right now. And especially now that he's with New Wave Academy as well. Like, I'm just glad I could give him that little push, and then seeing him go to those guys, and then obviously, Bronco and War, everyone, Danny, everyone that coaches there, they're like, in my opinion, they're like the best coaches in Europe, I would say. So to give the opportunity to people to, even if I'm just starting them off and then they move on to better things, like, I'm just so happy to do that and so proud of him. But yeah, he's going to be taking off this year. I think even more than he has. He's going to be a household name by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, to put them with Bolarama as well, of course, like, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I love Bolarama to death. Like, they are such cool guys. Splits and I nearly said it wrong. Lloyd Cat, not
you
not
got it. Yeah, the other. We don't know what happened to the other guy. Don't know what happened to
I don't know where he went, but he kind of disappeared on us. I don't know where he went, but yeah, Lloyd Cat is taking his place, which is, I think, a great replacement for him in Boilerama. But yeah, I mean, just those four guys in a match, it's a license to print money, in my opinion. And they had a great match, and I was like, because the end, obviously we'll get into it, but the end of that show was the street fight with myself and Tom Thurman. That was obviously not going to be a pretty sight. It's not going to be fun and smiles. So it was like, we need to sandwich that show with the super serious hardcore stuff and then the super smiley happy stuff, which I think we got with those guys, and it was a brilliant match. Loved it.
It was a good balance, yeah. And I last saw Shane at the Tram Shed last Friday. As a matter of fact, I was there to witness the Rev Pro show. He was part of the ring crew. And there was himself and I think it's Alex Vaughan, who's another New Wave recruit. I think you know Alex as well. Yeah. They both got dumped on their heads by Driller Dan Maloney when he kind of was unhappy at whatever was going on in his match. But yeah, Shane Hooker took it like a pro, and I spoke to him after the show. And like you say, I think he's kind of grown and matured so much as a person and as a performer over the last 12 months, and I can't wait to have him on the show in a few weeks' time. I've got to say, and I've had both of these two gentlemen on this show this year, but Harrison Bennett and James Ellis, the brilliant James Ellis, and James defended his Combat Legacy Championship at Cobra Kyber Halloween at the end of the 30th of October last year. And I said to both individuals that this was one of, if not my favourite match of 2022. And I think these two just put on a tremendous display. Really went to town. And in my humble opinion, match of the night, but like I say, definitely up there in my top 2 or 3 matches of the whole of last year. Those two put on a great display, and I'm sure you probably witnessed it from the little crow's nest up there. A hell of a match between those two.
100%, yeah. Like, it wasn't by accident. I knew exactly what I was getting when I booked these two guys together, and again, another person who I'm super proud of is James Ellis. I knew, like, he's probably not going to admit it, but I remember I met James way back when he started, and he had some cheap red tights and some gloves on, and his Lonsdale boots, and he wasn't in shape. I mean, he was in shape, but he wasn't like he is now. He's in phenomenal shape now. He's done so well. But I knew him when he first started, and to see him go from that to where he is now, again, similar thing with Shane, like. I'm so proud of him because I know how hard he works, and that's one of the reasons why he deserves the title that he's got, is because that title, the Combat Legacy Championship, it's a championship in a similar vein to like the IC title in the 90s. It was always guys that are workhorses, always guys that were good technicians in the ring, guys that put the work in, guys that put all of the effort in, and then it's a stepping stone to move on to better things. And James Ellis just embodies all of that, in my opinion. He works so incredibly hard to get where he is. Like I said, with the shape he's in now, he's done so amazing to get into the shape he is as well. And he's just great in the ring as well. He's just the full package. He's the whole package. Speaking as a booker, as a promoter, it's exactly what you want for your show. He does everything. He's great in the ring, got great charisma. He can talk, and he promotes your show as well. He's always promoting whatever he's involved with. He promotes it, and you can't ask for anything more. And he's just, he's a wrestler's wrestler. That's what we say in the biz. He's a wrestler's wrestler, and that's why he deserves that title. So, but yeah, of course, putting him with Harrison Bennett as well, I just knew instantly it was going to be a classic, because Harrison Bennett, in my opinion, is possibly one of the greatest wrestlers in the UK right now. And like he says, he's not underrated, he's underused. And I fully agree with that. He needs to be a lot further on than he is. And it's no fault of his own. It's just, unfortunately, for some reason, like obviously the pandemic killed a lot of momentum for a lot of people, which I think was a big case in Bennett's case. But he's finally getting back to the point now where I think he deserves to be. And yeah, he's fantastic. So I knew putting those two together would create a classic. I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. And wishing Harrison all the best after his shoulder injury that he suffered at Rev Pro last Friday. I witnessed it. And like I say, there was a great team on board at Rev Pro last week that looked after him and took him backstage. And he has been updating his socials with his, how he's getting on. But swift and speedy recovery to Harrison Bennett. We can't wait to see you kind of carry on where you left off, and hopefully back in the big time with Rev Pro and other companies like that. And then, of course, there was your main event. You alluded to it earlier on, but you closed the show with Tom Ferriman, who I believe is one of your trainees, or someone that I know you've been working with very closely over the years, and certainly with No Mercy Wrestling. And it was and now let me just get this right, because I've got to try and pronounce this right. It was a Perrin-Khyber street fight. Have I butchered that? Is that okay?
Almost there. It was like 99%. It was Penru-Khyber.
Penru-Khyber street fights. Yeah. There we go.
That's where the Halloween, the Cobra Khyber comes from.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the Penru-Khyber Hall, which was a beautiful venue, We have actually had a question that came through about the venues. Let's quickly bring it up. Here we go, from good friend of the show, Richie. Are your shows always based in Caerphilly Leisure Centre? So I know that the next show is at Caerphilly Leisure Centre. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first time you will have used the Caerphilly Leisure Centre on the 19th of March. But usually you're in the hall, aren't you?
So it's our second time actually in Caerphilly Leisure Centre. The first one, it wasn't really a promoted, announced show as you normally would. It was a charity show, which was in, I think it was for the Cancer Research and Latch, which was a children's charity for children with cancer. Fantastic charities, by the way. If you go check them out and donate if you can, they're brilliant charities. So yeah, we just did a little charity fundraising show for them back in October, actually on my birthday last October, which was a nice birthday present for me. And it was in Caerphilly Leisure Centre, a place we'd never been before. And the people that run the centre were absolutely fantastic. They loved us, we loved them. And as soon as the show was over, the lady that runs it came over to me and was basically like, we need you back. Please come back. This was amazing. You can run a show here whenever you want. So obviously we took him up on it. So we thought we'd give him a shot. But yeah, I mean, our spiritual home, I guess, is Penru-Khyber. Because as you said, it's a fantastic venue. I don't think people understand the atmosphere in there until you experience it. It's got a really strange atmosphere where it's like, you can feel a buzz in there, I find. And because it's like an old 70s theatre where the sound goes up and then bounces straight back down and goes out to the sides, nothing dissipates. It's such a good atmosphere in there. Especially when the crowd gets going, they start getting hot and they start doing the thing. And it's just so cool. It's such a good atmosphere and we love it there. And as well as you know, when you drive up to it, you think, where the hell am I? It's like in the middle of the valleys in this tiny little mining town that you would never expect a venue like that to be in. But I find they're the gems of the country, those little workman's venues, little theatres from the 70s and 80s that no one's ever heard of. They're the gems of the country. They're the little hidden gems that you need to go to and see wrestling, because like Penru-Khyber is perfect for wrestling, I find. It's as I said, it's got that sound dissipation. It goes in and out. You know, the lighting we've got and just the atmosphere in general, because everyone that goes there loves it. They love No Mercy. They love wrestling, and they just love watching entertainment, and that's what makes it so special. But yeah, going back to the Leisure Centre, we actually started in Team Reese Gym. That was where our first show was. So we've just decided to just do a little bit of a change, go into the Leisure Centre, and but who knows? Yeah, maybe we'll go back after the 19th. Hopefully they'll allow us back, and yeah, we can carry on there.
Tell us about that main event with yourself and Tom in that street fight, because you did take that match all around the hall and Pembroke Idol Hall, and he was kind of up in the balcony area, fought all the way back down again, all the way around the ring, in and out the ring. Weapons were used. I think there was a pretty brutal table spot, which I think you took, and I kind of saw the look on your face after that table spot, and you looked in a little bit of agony there. I don't know, I think there might have been some other weapons involved, certainly other tables, and but take us back to that match. And I've got to say, my first experience of watching Tom as well, and he was just absolutely fantastic. Both of you, great chemistry, but a brutal match.
Thank you very much. But well, that match came from a lot of. I want to choose my words carefully. Me and Tom were like really close back when we, like, ironically, we had our very first matches against each other way back in 2018. So it was my first match. I think it was Tom's like second, but he doesn't really count as first because it was bad. So we both say that was our first match. Yeah, back in Swansea, and we were really close. We trained together. Obviously, we were extremely close. He joined No Mercy when I set it up, and slowly but surely, he just he started turning. He started getting this weird attitude where he kind of felt like he deserved to be the head honcho and he deserved to be the top star of the company. And I'm like, just because he knows me, and I was like, Tom, we can't do that. You got to earn it. Blah blah blah. Anyway, long story short, he started doing what he did. He decided to start attacking people after matches, and then he attacked me, hit me with a chair, and that's what kind of started this whole thing off. Is like, I was like, I mean, I couldn't believe he did it in the first place because we were meant to be brothers, but he hit me with a chair, unfortunately busted me open, and we had a bit of a scrap that day. I said some things I regret saying because I said some swears I shouldn't have, but in the heat of the moment, I was angry. It came out, but yeah, so that built up to the street fight. So I basically was like, I own the company, so I can do what I want. If you want to start using weapons, let's use some weapons. Let's have a street fight. And yeah, as you said, we went all around the hall. It was a very hairy moment where I thought he was going to throw me over the balcony.
Yeah. Everybody held their breath at that moment. But fortunately, you kind of recovered yourself.
Yes, I have to say a big thank you actually to Terry, Shane's father, actually, who helps run Penrith Hall. He put a stop to it. He warned Tom, if you do that, that's the end of No Mercy being at Penrith Hall. And obviously, we don't want that. So, but Tom didn't care. I think he was going to do it anyway. And then Wesker, actually, from Devil's Rejects, I think you can see it on the footage. He actually physically stops Tom and is like, "Don't be stupid." And on we went. But yeah, that match was a brutal match. It was a very, very physical match. And it was a culmination of all of the tension that me and Tom built up over the year previously. And yeah, I was feeling it. I was definitely feeling it for the week after that. Same as Tom, I think. Although Tom hasn't been back since, so I don't know where he is right now. Who knows if we'll see him again.
But that capped off a wonderful day, a wonderful show for sure. And I think another kind of lasting memory for me would be the hill or the slope along the side of the building where we had to park. I did fear for my car a little bit there, Bevan. It is honestly the steepest, and my handbrakes I pray to my handbrakes. They clung on and it didn't roll down the bank, but that was fantastic. That's pretty crazy. We actually drove past the venue thinking, oh, right, okay, there it is. And we've already driven past it. But the first thing I noticed was that slope. And I thought, oh, crikey, he told me to park down there. He told me to park down there. No, that can't be right. But yeah, that was fun. That was good fun.
Yeah, there's a little thing in the valleys towns like that, because there's a lot dotted around the valleys towns like that. Main streets and then massive hills down the side of them. There's a thing that all of the mechanics garages around there, they all make the money from doing handbrakes.
Oh yeah.
Readjusting handbrakes, that's what it is.
You wouldn't want to kind of wander down there kind of half cut after a couple of drinks and accidentally lose your balance, would you? You wouldn't stop. You think the world was spinning, but in a different way. Let's have a quick look at some of the shows that you have run in I'd say just under a year, and kicked off with this one, Strike first strike card. I'm just going to quickly whiz through some of these because with the rise of the Cobras there, the dawn of the Cobras, and just trying to make a note of the date here, but can't remember exactly where it is. Probably hidden slightly. And then, of course, you had this one in August, Send It to the Internet. And that's where you crowned your first champion, of course, who was the Brilliance, James Ellis. War of the Cobras. I think that was possibly the charity show that you was referring to. And then, of course, you had the Halloween show. And then you ended the year with your Christmas show, with the spectacular one there on the front there, Harley Hudson, Martin Kirby, Adam Carter, Luna Blue, Shane Hooker, Aurora Tevez. Fantastic. That, in a nutshell, Bevan, is a year to be proud of.
I think so, yeah. I mean, so in my office, where we're based, I have all of the shows on the wall in order of how they've gone. And I was just actually, funnily enough, I was looking at them to like remember things for this interview to talk about. And I was just like, I was looking at it, I was like, it doesn't feel real, honestly. It doesn't. It's like, just because I know what I was like when I ran that very first show, Strike First, Strike Hard, I remember exactly how I was feeling the night before. I was like, if this goes well, maybe I'll run another one. I don't know yet, but let's find out. And now think where I am now, and it's like, and I've got like the next 4 shows planned as well. So near enough up to the end of the year. It's just crazy to think it. And it is true what people say, like when you're in this, I don't know what it is about the wrestling business, but this business specifically, it just goes so fast and you don't notice it, how fast it goes. Like, it really doesn't feel like it's been a year. It really doesn't. Yeah. It's crazy.
But the thing that struck me when I was kind of going through all them posters and doing my research, now I'm relatively closely associated with Wrestle Carnival, the Nottingham/Carnival based, Coventry based promotion, run by Isaiah. It's Gary Ward, and
Gary, yeah.
I can't remember the name of the new GM, to be honest with you. But you started your first show. You had the Queen of the Carnival, Alex Windsor, defending her newly won championship from Wrestle Carnival on your first show. That's a bit of a coup, because by then Wrestle Carnival had already got itself the reputation as one of the best up and coming new promotions on the UK scene, bringing in talent from all over the world. Very early on. And you had the women's champion, the Queen of the Carnival, Alex Windsor, on your first show. That's pretty special. It
was a very, very great get. I wanted to book Alex Windsor anyway, because obviously Alex is just fantastic, great at what she does. And it just so happens, like as you said, she just recently won the Queen of the Carnival championship. So I was like, bulb went off in my head. The gears started spinning. And I was like, let me see. Like, so me and Gary, we've never actually met in person. We've tried to many times. Like, there's been times where I've said I'm going to go to a Wrestle Carnival show. He's going to come to mine, but we've never managed to make it work, unfortunately, because of schedules. But we talk a lot online, and Gary helped me out a hell of a lot when I first started No Mercy as a promotion. A lot more than he would think, because he's very, very humble. So he wouldn't come out and say, I'm the reason that, blah, blah, blah. So Gary has been a huge, huge help, especially when No Mercy started on that first show. And he actually, he came to me and was just like, you've got Alex on the show. Brilliant. Do you want to put a belt on the line? And I was like, hell yeah. I mean, obviously, the very first show, having a belt of that caliber, and especially with Alex Windsor as well, a worker of that caliber, on our show with that belt, for the very first show as well, I was just like, this is crazy. This is amazing. And that started, I think, the level of quality of matches and title matches throughout for No Mercy going forward. Because, every company will just, their very first show, they just have a few matches. Don't get me wrong, there are some companies that make it very, very special, but most will just do match. Thank you very much for coming. See you next time. Whereas I wanted to make it special. I wanted something different. So I was like, I need something to make people think this is special. And having the Queen of the Carnival Championship was that thing. And obviously, that was like first show, first time we're having a title on it. It needs to be main event. So our very first main event, of course, were the ladies. And I was very proud and very happy to make that the main event. I think it was think it was needed. Having the ladies, also Lucille and Cara as well in that match, having them go on anything other than main event would have been a sacrilege. That it needed to be main event, and it needed to be pushed as good as the match was. You know, that match was fantastic, and all of the ladies in that match were great. So yeah, they deserve to have that main event.
Absolutely. And we've had Alex Pires get in touch. He's watching via YouTube. Memories of your Caerphilly street fight versus Darcy DeCal in the No Mercy Strike First, Strike Hard show. So obviously sticking with the first show from nearly a year ago, you were involved in a Caerphilly street fight. Obviously, Alex remembers that quite fondly. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've had a couple of street fights in No Mercy now. So there, that was an odd one. So Darcy DeKill is another odd person. They decided to stalk me, basically. So basically what happened for that first show, you know, I put the matches together, I started booking it, I released the card, I started announcing matches, and Darcy was like, you know, they'd been on Carnage, they'd been on a few other things, and basically I think they were a bit offended that I didn't include them, and so they decided to take it in their own hands and just did some odd things. They stalked me. Like, they kept sending footage to us of them stalking me. Like, I was just going out and doing my shopping and going to restaurants, just going out for food, and they'd be in the bushes watching me, and that creeped me the hell out. I'm gonna be honest with you. Then they broke into the dojo, the No Mercy dojo, and that was the last straw for me. And then they attacked some trainees as well, and that was like, right, enough is enough. So I was like, all right, if you want to be on the show, if you want to wrestle me, it's gonna be in the most extreme way. If you want it, then we're gonna do it that way. So yeah, I made it a street fight because I was like, this is the test. If you want to be on No Mercy, if you want to be on the No Mercy roster, you got to get through me, and you got to get through me in a street fight. And if you do that, maybe then we can talk. Fortunately, it didn't go my way because they decided to bring out some extra help, shall we say. But yeah, I don't know. Darcy's a very, very odd, mysterious character, and they haven't been around for a while. So I'm hoping they're not, you know, traumatizing or doing anything bad like that to someone somewhere else. But who knows?
They better not be waiting in your bushes or kind of, you know, behind your car.
Put it this way: every time I get in my car, I check the back seat. Because who knows where they are right now.
Absolutely. And we've got Callum Franklin watching us via Facebook. Thank you, Callum. Tom Fairman is a very underrated worker, absolute diamond of a bloke too. Based on what I saw last October, I think he's a fantastic worker for sure. Got a very, very bright future. But just touching on some of the names that you've had work under the No Mercy banner over the last 12 months, the likes of Martin Kirby, for example, legend of the UK scene, Mike Bird, another legend of the South Wales and UK scene, still doing some great stuff. Kelly Six, of course, Elijah, Harrison Bennett, Tommy Kyle, Jay Joshua, Harley Hudson, and of course Charles Crowley for your December show, amongst many other top pros that have passed through the No Mercy doors. Some big names there, and like I say, a lot of big names to get on your show. You must have been pretty proud to have had some of them names wrestle under a No Mercy banner in 2022.
Definitely, yeah. Just hearing you list off all those names now, I've just kind of gone, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, as I said, wrestling goes so fast, you forget what you've done. And we've had some great people. It's as you said, yeah. You started off there with Martin Kirby. He was like, for lack of a better term, he was the name, the draw of our first show. I'd never met him before him ever on any show before. Obviously, I'd heard of him. Martin's like one of the best probably around. Been around for a long time. But he also did a seminar for us that day before the show for all the guys. So imparted some knowledge, gave some experience to all the guys, which was fantastic. It was brilliant. And then, of course, had a great match. Match of the night candidate, I think it was. So Martin's just absolutely fantastic. I have a list of people who are too nice for wrestling, and Martin is on that list. He's near the top. He's so nice and so respectful and so great, and just having him on that show again, like I said earlier with Alex Windsor and the Wrestle Carnival title, it was an honor to have Martin on our first show. And yeah,
and it adds a lot of credibility to a new company, doesn't it?
100%. Yeah,
credibility.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, some of them other names, but certainly in December, you had Tommy Kyle, Harley Hudson, and Charles Crowley all come down along with Aurora Tevez and many more. But what I really, really love about No Mercy, and I said this to you before we went live, was that you got what it's presented to us, what it's demonstrated to us over the last 12 months is you've obviously got some of these big names from all over the UK coming down to South Wales to wrestle for your company. You've also got some of the biggest names in Wales itself all congregating in No Mercy Wrestling. But then there's this new crop, this new batch of talent that's coming through. Some of your trainees, some of the other ones that we've mentioned, like James Ellis and Shane Hooker, all of a sudden Adam Carter and many more. So there's a real mix, there's a real blend of talent of all different experience levels. But I think that is what makes kind of the fabric of No Mercy Wrestling work at its very heart.
Yeah, without a doubt. I started when I started doing shows. I didn't want to just be the same as every other company and just do the run of the mill thing where it's bring in the names. That's what sells tickets, and then put a few of the less experienced guys on first. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm interested in helping people progress onto better things. I'm interested in getting them to the next level. So, when I bring, for lack of a better term, names down, I want them working with the less experienced guys. I want them helping people to get to that next level that I know that they can get to. It's like the Penrith Khyber shows, the Cobra shows, if we will. They were designed as like sort of like a developmental type of wing of No Mercy, more focused on the less experienced guys, less production, smaller crowd, smaller venues. So there's less pressure for them to, attempt to practice what they are learning, So that was my idea with the Cobra shows, was to bring in maybe one or two, more experienced guys to work with the less experienced so they can then learn from them and then eventually move on to the bigger shows, which are, the Sweep the Legs, the Send It to the Internet, the Strike First, Strike Hard. And obviously, Shane Hooker, Adam Carter, they've all moved on now to the bigger shows. Even though, of course, they're still training hard, they're still part of the Cobra shows. Let's use this word, graduated to the bigger shows, to the bigger dance. So that's what the idea of the Cobra shows were, as a little stepping stone to get the less experienced guys some practice, some experience working in front of a crowd, especially one like Penrith Khyber that is just full of atmosphere, full of excitement, and they can practice and get experience on that, and then they can move on to the bigger things and hopefully move on to bigger shows elsewhere too. That's my goal with everyone that's involved with No Mercy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, some of them up and coming names. I've mentioned Shane Hooker, Adam Carter, Kenny Mantra, for example, who's doing some wonderful things, has done over the last few years. All of a sudden, Jimmy Taylor, Tom Ferryman, and of course the Brill, and so many others that are kind of coming through that scene. And like I say, that the South Wales wrestling scene in the early to mid 2010s was the hottest scene in the UK, and the UK was considered the hottest scene in world independent wrestling. And like I say, the Welsh wrestling scene was right at the heartbeat of that, right at the tip of that. And of course, BritWrest kind of exploded around 2017, 2018. It's taken a bit of a dip. Of course, we had the pandemic, but you can really see with what you're doing there in South Wales and some of the other promotions and what Brendan's doing with New Wave, that South Wales and Wales and the talent that's coming through that area is getting back to the level that it once was before. Added into that all of the ex-NXT UK talent that have now come back onto the scene. You've got a real blend of kind of experienced talent that are helping bring up the new talent, making the scene even stronger. But South Wales in particular certainly coming to the forefront once again. Yeah,
without a doubt. South Wales, in my opinion, is where it's at right now. Well, not just South Wales, but the South, Mid Wales in general. It's where it's at right now, and everyone here can feel it. Everyone knows that this is where you need to be, because as you said, the level of talent, the level of shows that are going on just in this little area is absolutely phenomenal.
Staggering.
Obviously you've got your hotbeds, you've got the Midlands, you got a few bits in London here and there, as you said, Coventry area, but a couple in Scotland as well. But Wales is like really on fire right now, and I think everyone knows it, and everyone is dying to get down here to work for all of these different companies. But I think the catalyst for it, the main reason that this has happened, obviously there's the talent, but it's because we've all started working together. And this is what I think is the difference between anywhere else in the UK. In Wales, for the most part, most of the companies are all here. We all support each other and we all work together. We don't argue. We don't do stupid shit like tear each other's posters down. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a couple of companies that still do that, which is stupid. But it's a dinosaur practice. It belongs in the 90s and the 2000s. No one should be doing that. It's just stupid. But it still happens, unfortunately, with a couple of companies who I won't name. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 companies around here, they all support each other. We all work together. Like, obviously, No Mercy runs shows, New Wave runs shows, Carnage runs shows. There's, Progress and Chaos in Bristol. There's Attack that's come back. There's Modern Nomad. So many different companies. And if you're looking on the outside, you think it's just them companies, but we're all included. We're all involved. Like, for example, No Mercy Wrestling provides ring and crew services for most companies in Wales. So we provide it for New Wave. We provide for Modern Nomad, for Attack, for Chaos, for sometimes we help out with Carnage with certain bits of equipment. But like Slam Masters as well, of course.
Yeah.
And that to me just shows how we're all just supporting each other so much that's the reason why Wales is just taking off right now, is because there's no bad blood. Bad blood just creates something stupid. Like, there's no reason for it. You might as well support each other, because if this company here and this company here are going up at the same time, it's just helpful for everyone. There's no point in holding one company down and you trying to get ahead of them, because that's just going to cause crap that you don't need. So the fact that everyone supports each other the way they do in Wales is evidence of that's what everyone else needs to do, because as we both said, Wales is on fire right now, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
No, 100%. And the other thing that I really, really admired about your show that I went to in October was this here, where you do a little pre-show, and you let families and kids come in 30 minutes early. They get a bit of a pre-show activities from some of the talent there, like Oliver Sudden and Shane Hooker, and one or two others that I'm sure you'll fill me in on. But some great fun to be had with the kids there, and the talent absolutely love it, and it helps to kind of set the scene for what is then going to be a really, really fun show. It gets the kids involved. It kind of hooks them into their early wrestling fandom, and who knows, that could be the seed that could one day make them want to don the tights themselves. But I don't think I've seen that much, if at all, from any other promotion. It's such a very unique little touch, but for them kids and for them families, it probably means the world to them.
Yeah, 100%. I do have to shout out to the guys at Carnage, because I don't want to say stole. I borrowed the idea from them. They were the first guys that did it that I know of around here, anyway. But again, going back to supporting of each other, I went to the guys. I was like, look, would you guys mind if I did that myself? I'll call it something else, because they call it the Superstar Experience. I call it the Cobra Experience. So it's basically the same, just different names. I was like, would you mind if I took that idea and did it for my shows? And they were like, absolutely not, go for it. And that's, again, just a little example of how each company is supporting each other. They could have easily said, piss off, that's stealing our idea, and then I would have, some people would have done it anyway. But they came to me and they said, look, the fact that you came to us and asked first is like a huge respect thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm all about. I'm all about respect. People being respectful and being a good person goes a long way with me. I would rather book someone who's a nice person and maybe not the biggest of names over the best draw in the country, but they're an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, being a good person and being respectful goes a long way with me, and I think that radiates out as well. So they liked the fact that I went to them. But yeah, I was going off on a tangent. So yeah, we set up this experience pass, which, as you said, families can come in a little bit before and they can make an entrance. They can come through the curtain to any music they want. They get announced like as they would if they were at a show, get in the ring, you know, have photos, do whatever they want basically. And yeah, they absolutely love it. It really sets up, like you said, the whole day for them. Like they have that, they're extremely happy, they love it, and then they're properly into the show then because, as you said, they are interacting with wrestlers they're going to see later on the show, and when they come out, they're like, I know him. He was
going to be even more fired up, aren't they? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like you said, if that sets this in motion, sows the seed that they then want to maybe do this for a living, that's all the better for it, you know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it does do, and I mentioned about it kind of planting that seed, but it makes them an even bigger fan of what you're doing, an even bigger fan of No Mercy Wrestling, and it means that next time No Mercy Wrestling are in town, it's going to be like, Mum, I want to see them again. I want to have my fan experience, and that's just that's just fantastic for those little kids and for those families. Let's talk about your next show. We alluded to it at the top of the podcast, and your next show, of course, is this here. No Mercy Wrestling presents Sweep the Leg, Sunday the 19th of March, from Care Philly and the Care Philly Leisure Centre. And we're just going to whiz through some of these matches, but some of the matches that have been announced already. And first of all, shout out to Elliot93. Does a lot of your graphics and absolutely amazing match graphics. He does some of my work occasionally. He's the best graphic designer in the country, but you've obviously got a good working relationship with Elliot there. Yeah,
100%. Me and Elliot, again, never met him in person before. It's all over the internet, but such a great guy, unbelievably talented and so humble as well. Like the fact that he's like just kind of like, yeah, I just do this. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, dude, you are the best designer. As you said, you're the best designer in the UK for wrestling or anything right now.
Look at this one. He did this in 24 hours for me. Did that in 24 hours. It's
so good.
Phenomenal work.
But yeah, again, going back to what I said earlier, I'm a big believer of respect and being a good person. And Elliot is very respectful and very, very nice person.
100%.
And as I said, I would take that over anything every day, but it just so happens that he's one of the best designers as well. So it goes hand in hand. Yeah, Elliot.
We're very lucky to have you on the British wrestling scene. But quickly about this one, the Devil's Rejects versus All of a Sudden and a mystery partner. So that's what's very intriguing for me. Yeah. You've got the Devil's Rejects, an experienced combo there. All of a sudden, we've put him over to the moon already. A fantastic talent, a great character. But it's the mystery partner thing that's got me there, Bevan. I'm not expecting you to give any clues away, but
I don't know. I don't even know, honestly.
You don't?
I don't. So we wanted to do a rematch of what these guys did on the first show, because obviously the anniversary. We were like, let's just have a rematch of Devil's Rejects and All of a Sudden and RC Chaos, Sudden Chaos. We thought that would be a great rematch. Unfortunately, RC is unable to perform in the ring at the moment. He'll still be there, as we know, as a special guest commentator. Yeah, there he is, King of the Dark Fruits himself. So yeah, unfortunately, he can't be performing in the ring. So I was like, oh, who can we have? Who can we have? And then all of a sudden, he said, don't worry about it. It's taken care of. And that's all he's told me. And I'm a bit worried because I don't know who he's going to bring. He has assured me that it's taken care of, and everyone's going to be happy with his choice. So I trust him, and I'm going to leave it in his hands, and we'll see who turns up on the day. But it should be interesting, let's say the least.
Absolutely. We're going to get through the rest of the match card in a second. Just want to say we've had a ton of questions come through. So please keep sending your questions through to us. I will get to your questions when they're kind of at the appropriate time, because there's a few topics I want to hit. So I'm going to ask them questions at the right time. So please stay with us. We will get to your questions and keep sending them through. But what about this one here, Bevan? Will Cruz, one of the best heavyweights, one of the best big men on the scene, up and down the country. Am I right in thinking he's making his No Mercy debut here? But hell of a talent going up against Jay Joshua, someone you know very well, someone I've encountered up and down the road several times. This is going to be a banger, isn't it? And when you talk about two big, hard-hitting guys, you don't get much better than Jay Joshua and Will Cruz, do you?
yeah, these guys, this match. So the first time I got the idea for this match was a Pro Wrestling Chaos show. I think it was actually Will Cruz's debut on Chaos, the first match he had there. It was a tag team match. I think it was Cruz and Kirby versus Dead Sad Boys, Jay Joshua and Billy Hayes. Again, Billy, great wrestler.
Yeah.
Staple of the Welsh scene. And yeah, they had their tag match, and then there was a point in the match where Cruz and Jay faced off, and you felt the buzz. The whole room just went, you felt that. And I was like, I felt it. Everyone felt it. And I was like, oh my God, we need to see this as a singles because it was unreal. And yeah, like, don't get me like, we have a medic at all of our shows anyway. But if there was a match to have a medic for, it's gonna be this match because they're gonna beat the living piss out of each other. I cannot wait to see it. It's gonna be so good.
Mate, that is going to be so good. Speaking of so good, how about this one here? Nico Angelo, one of the best cruiserweights on the UK, if not further afield, against the aforementioned Shane Hooker. We've bigged him up quite a bit already, but these two, like I say, I think whereas Will Cruz and Jay Joshua are going to have an all-out brawl, these two are going to have, you're going to have to hold on to your hats because these two are going to fly all over that leisure centre. Shane Hooker, Nico Angelo, yes, please, all day long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was a no-brainer as well. I've been wanting to have this match for a long time, and I was waiting for the opportune moment for it. I was waiting for the right time, for the right place, the right crowd. And I was like, what better place than our anniversary show? You know, on the first show, Shane was just in the pre-show Rumble and crewing. And now a year later, look where he is. He's in one of the biggest matches of the night with Nico, TNT Ultra X champion. So you cannot, that there is just proof of when you put work in, when you're committed, and when you love this as much as Shane does, just how far this can take you. And I'm so proud to have given him this match. And I can't wait to see it. I'm probably gonna watch it and forget that I'm in charge of the show because I'm just gonna be marking out the whole time and freaking out. But it's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And a match that dropped just over an hour ago across all socials. So a little bit of an exclusive here on Wrestling with Johners, but this triple threat here: Adam Carter, Kenny Mantra, Kelly Six. Three very, very exciting individuals. And like I say, Kenny Mantra and Adam Carter came onto my radar last year. Adam Carter is an absolute beast, isn't he?
Yes,
he's like
he really
Kurt
is.
Angle, Jake Hager, all rolled into one. He's an absolute beast. Got a fantastic engine on him as well. He can go. Kenny Mantra, a fantastic talent. I need to know more about Kenny Mantra. I'm going to have to get him on the show because he's a very, very intriguing character. Kelly Six, a previous guest of myself on Wrestling with Johners, and one of the best pros in the UK, full stop, regardless of promotion. That guy can do it all. But you've got three tremendous talents there on the same match graphic. And when they're inside the same ring, that's going to be dynamite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as you've hit the nail on the head, Adam is an absolute monster. He's like, I think he's like 6'2", something like this. Just, I think he's like 200 plus pounds of just pure beef. He's a large lad and he hits hard. And like you said, he's got an engine on him. He can go with the best of them. Like he had Martin Kirby not long ago, and you would never believe that, Adam only has a couple of years under his belt, so he's definitely taken it by storm. And excuse me, another person coming out of no mercy who I think people will need to keep an eye on this year because he's going to do some good things. Same as Kenny. Kenny's been around a while. He's been around about the same amount of time as me, I think. But Kenny's one of these guys that just needs the platform. He just needs an opportunity to show what he can do because he can do some amazing things. I've wrestled Kenny myself in Pro Wrestling Carnage. One of my favorite matches of all time I've ever had. He's just so easy to work with. Such a nice guy. Phenomenal wrestler. Yeah, just great. Big things coming for Kenny as well, I think. And obviously, Kelly needs no introduction. Kelly Six is one of the best around at the moment. He's done a seminar for us as well. He's actually going to be doing, this is another exclusive for you, he's actually going to be doing another seminar for us next Wednesday. So, which hasn't been announced yet. That's going to be announced tomorrow. So this is an exclusive for you. Kelly, phenomenal wrestler, but also phenomenal coach. Like he's a very underrated coach. And I think a lot of schools would benefit from bringing him in for a seminar or two.
Yeah, and he's a really top guy as well. Really, really top guy.
Brilliant.
And we've spoken about 4 or 5 fantastic matches, but what about this one here for the Combat Legacy Championship? You got the brilliance, James Ellis, who's always as good as gold, of course, going up against former WWE NXT UK star Joseph Connors. That's got main event written all over it to add the championship on the line as well. I'm buzzing for that one. Absolutely buzzing for that one. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've said many times already, James deserves it. He deserves everything he gets. He's such a hard worker, and as big of a mouth as he's got, he does back it up. So yeah, I just wanted to. I mean, apart from wanting to see the match myself, I just think this is going to be a contender for match of the year. I really do, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so good. Like I met Joseph Connors. He came down to do a seminar for us. Obviously, he's working at Chaos, where we provide the ring for. So I know Joseph quite well now. So it was a no-brainer. He was like, he wanted to work for me. I wanted him to work for us. Dates didn't work out until now, so we were like, let's do it. He was like, I'm free. Yep, let's go for it. So we got him. And yeah, what better way to have his debut against the Brill? I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know about match of the year. I think what you've got already on paper looks like show of the year, my friends. It's absolutely stacked. Every match is different. So you've got the variety there. You've got the best talent from South Wales and the UK all congregated at the Caerphilly Leisure Centre. Just remind us where we can get tickets from, Bevan. And I'm going to bring up the main graphic that might help out. But where can we get tickets from if we want to get our tickets today so we don't miss out on that amazing show?
So you just need to go to nomercywrestling.co.uk and click on live events, and she'll be up there right in front of you so you can buy tickets. And also right now, until midnight tomorrow, there is a discount code, which is St. David 48. So you get 15% off because it was St. David's here, and there it is. Yeah, St. David's in Wales yesterday. So 15% off all tickets up until midnight tomorrow. St. David 48. Use that code at checkout. And
there we go.
Yes,
I come prepared for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
So a tremendous. Like I say, I urge and encourage anybody to get down there Sunday the 19th. You will not be disappointed. Already there's 5 or 6 matches there that could be main event on any show up and down the land. This gentleman here is just lucky enough to have it on his card, and I bet he's absolutely buzzing for it. But take us all the way back to when you first fell in love with wrestling as a wrestling fan. How did it first come into your life, and what sort of effect did it have on you when you first encountered or discovered this weird sport that we all love called professional wrestling?
Well, I'm going to show my age now. But my first memory, or not even a memory, my first thing I remember about seeing wrestling was Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, title versus title, WrestleMania. I don't remember watching the whole match. I just have memories of just seeing it. So back when I was a kid, I didn't have Sky Sports. My uncle had Sky Sports, so he would tape all of the pay-per-views and then lend them to me to watch. So I think when I started getting into wrestling, really actually started watching it religiously, was around the Iron Man match with Shawn and Brett. That's the first full match I remember watching all the way through, and I was just in love with it because I thought that all wrestling matches were an hour because that was the first one I'd watched. So I was like, wow, shows are going to be a long time. It's going to be a long viewing. But obviously I really learned what they were. But that was the first memory of watching a full match, a full show all the way through, was the Iron Man match. And I was in love with it ever since. And then obviously the Attitude Era came along, and like most people my age, that's what kicked it all off for me. I was a huge fan of original ECW. And I remember back then, when my mum got Sky for the first time, and I remember flicking through it on a Sunday night. Obviously, Sky is normal now, but back then it was this amazing thing. So I was flicking through all the channels. I was like, what can I watch? What can I watch? And it was Sunday. It was about 11 o'clock. And I put it on to Bravo. Do you remember Bravo? That channel? And ECW Hardcore TV was on. And I was like, and my only experience of wrestling up until this point was WWF. I didn't even know WCW existed because that was on another channel. And I saw this wrestling. I was like, and I think the match that was on was Rhino and Sandman. And literally, as I flicked the channel, Rhino was pile driving a woman through a table. And I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, what am I watching? Because I knew it was wrestling, because I saw a ring, I saw, wrestlers. I was like, but I've never seen anyone do anything like this before. The more I watched it, the more I was hooked. Obviously, the chairs, the table. But what really gripped me was, because I was like, okay, this is wrestling, but they're using weapons. It might be a bit weird. But then I saw Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, like in the ECW.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I didn't know wrestling could be that. I just thought being used to WWF, it was just these big, larger than life characters who couldn't do much, Hogan, that kind of stuff, Ultimate Warrior, whatever. But as soon as I saw these guys go at it, I was like, holy shit, this is what wrestling, this is wrestling, this is amazing. And that just started me down a rabbit hole then of those guys working in Japan and Mexico. And so by the time I came back to WWF, Attitude Era was in full swing, and then I was like, actually, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is more like ECW, so that's why I got into that. So yeah, that's what started it all off for me. A little bit more older than some other people on the show, maybe.
Well, I mean, your wrestling fandom mirrors mine pretty much. Got into it around 1990. 1991 was where I kind of fell head over heels, and the Royal Rumble 92 with Ric Flair and everything. That's kind of what really sparked the fire for me. Same again, original ECW fan around 94, 95 onwards. Used to get all the tapes traded in from the States. Didn't miss a single episode. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely hooked. And same journey as you. How did you eventually make that transition from being a wrestling fan to wanting to get involved yourself? Is there a bit of a story behind that, as far as how you thought, well, I like this enough to maybe give it a go? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I started quite late, a lot later than most people. I mean, I originally wanted to start doing it when I was like 14, 15, like a lot of people. Obviously, I saw the Hardys, I saw Edge and Christian, Dudley, I saw the table matches, the TLC, and I was like, I need to do this. I wanted to do it. So, me being as a naive little kid at the time, where I lived I lived in West Wales, as far west as you can go before you hit the Irish Sea, in Pembrokeshire. So there's nothing there. Pembrokeshire is like 20 years behind everywhere else. So I didn't even know that you could go to a school in this country. I thought the way that you got to be a wrestler was you sent a tape to WWF and hopefully you get hired or something like that. Obviously I was naive, but so I wanted to be a wrestler when I was like 14, 15, and I remember reading Power Slam magazine, and I flicked all the way through it, and on the back page, I remember it like it was yesterday, there was an advert for Hammerlock, NWA Hammerlock. I think it was in Newcastle at the time, or around that area, and they were opening up their next 2-week camp, because back then it was all done in camps. You couldn't just go to a school and train. So I was like, this is my shot again. Thinking about signs, like this is meant to be. I was like, this is my shot. I got in contact with them. They told me it was going to be £4,000. I was like, oh wow. So I skimmed, I clawed, I begged, I got everything I could to get that money. I worked and I lent money, and I finally got the money together. And then I went to my mother and I got all the forms sent to me. It was all sent to me in the post. And because I was under 18 or under 16 at the time, sorry, I had to have parental permission. So they had to sign off on me. And I went to my mother and I was like, Mum, please sign this form. Nope, she would not do it. So mainly because I was under 16, I obviously couldn't rent a hotel or anything. So my plan was, and the guys were cool with it, I think at the time, my plan was just to sleep in the gym for the 2 weeks. Wake up, wrestle, sleep in the gym. And she wouldn't allow that. She was like, I'm not letting my 14/15-year-old son travel up the country and sleep in a sweaty gym on his own. So that was the end of that. She put an end to it, unfortunately. And I never thought about it again until I think it was about 28, 29. So I started training when I was like 28, 29, a lot later than most people. I'd obviously been thinking about it, but I was like, the older I got, the more I thought, this is stupid. Don't be ridiculous. You're not going to do anything in the wrestling if you start this late. And then again, going back to the whole seeing signs thing, I was working in a vape shop at the time in where I lived in Pembrokeshire, and these guys walked in, and they had a load of flyers and posters with them, and they said, "Oh, we're running a wrestling show that 10 minutes down the road. Do you mind if we put some flyers up in the shop?" I was like, "Of course, no problem." So I had a look at it, flipped it over, and it said, "We also run a wrestling school in Port Talbot, which is about an hour away from me at the time." And I was like, "This is a sign. If I don't do it now, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life." I didn't want to be 50 and thinking, "Oh, I could have done it, but not. I'm not taking the chance." So again, going back to the whole taking a risk thing, I had to take the risk. So I mentioned to him that I want to start training, and I went from there. And then, different schools and different people later, here I am. So if I hadn't made that decision on that day to take that poster in and ask them about it, I wouldn't be here now. So it's quite interesting to think about.
Yeah. So am I right in thinking you made your debut around 2018?
Yes, 2018. Yeah.
So tell us about them first few years, possibly getting us up to when the world came crashing around our ears. Wrestling stopped in 2020. So then first couple of years, I mean, what was that journey like for you? And I'm guessing there was lots of highs, maybe one or two lows, but a massive learning experience for you. But how were them first couple of years?
It was, obviously my plan was just to have one match and be done. I was like, look, as long as I have one match, I'm happy. And then I had that one match. Again, as I said, it was with Tom Ferriman. Went amazing. I look back at it now and I think, oof. But at the time, I loved it. It was great. I loved it. And so I was hooked. I needed that feeling again of going out through the curtain, of performing in front of people. And I'm sure many of your past guests have said the same thing. There's no feeling like it. You cannot replicate it any other way. It's a very unique high, natural high too. So I wanted it back. I needed it back. So I was like, I'm going to carry on. I'm trying to carry on. Unfortunately, I was part of an organization at the time that kind of discouraged you from going elsewhere. They just wanted you to stay with them. So I was kind of stuck there for the first year or so. It didn't really work elsewhere. I just worked for that one company, maybe a couple of others, but nothing major. It was only after the pandemic and I actually, went elsewhere and started branching out that I realized what wrestling actually is. I don't really count those first year or so with that company as part of my career because it wasn't really wrestling. Like it wasn't traveling. It wasn't going out on the scene. It wasn't working at different places. It wasn't going to learn from other people. It wasn't, that's what wrestling is, traveling, getting yourself out there, networking, learning from other schools, learning from other trainers, going to other promotions, learning from other wrestlers on the promotions. That's what wrestling is. And the place I was at the time, they discouraged that. So I don't tend to count that too much in my career. So even though, as I said, I'm all about respect, and I do obviously acknowledge that's where I started. I always acknowledge where I came from. But yeah, it's gone from 2018 to say start of the pandemic. It was a very slow time of my career. As soon as we came out of lockdown, that's when I started going elsewhere and going to other places and taking off a bit.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you started training when you, or that you attempted to start your training when you was 14, and then started again when you're about 28. We're now kind of a few years on, 2023. How do you think you've kind of changed since 2018 as a person, maybe as a performer? Obviously, you've grown, you've learned a lot, you've started your new promotion, but do you feel that you've changed for the better as a pro, as a performer, maybe just as a human being?
Oh, without a doubt. There's one instance that I will always remember. Like, he probably won't remember this, but it was actually from Brendan White. We were on the same show. It was for a promotion called Vertigo Pro. They were around Wales at the time. And we were on the same show. I think it was 2019, something like that. And we were backstage and we were chatting away. And Brendan was saying to us, me and a couple of the other guys, excuse me, he was like, so how's it been? You're starting to work now. How's it going? Are you working many places? And we were like, no, we're just working in this one place. And he just couldn't believe it. He was like, you need to be getting out there. You need to be working at all of these different places. Get your name out, get the name out. And at the time, I was like, because of the way that we were taught, it was like, it made no sense to me. But now that I'm doing that, I realize how much truth Brandon had and how much it made sense now looking back. And he couldn't believe that we weren't branching out and we were just staying with this one company. And it's true. And like I said before, that's what wrestling is. You need to branch out. You need to get around. And working 3-4 times a year in the one company doesn't make you a wrestler. So I'm a huge, like I said earlier, I encourage everyone that comes to No Mercy. I hugely encourage them to go elsewhere. Go to New Wave. Go to Evolution Pro Wrestling. Their academy. They got a great academy. Go to Kamikaze Pro in the Midlands. Go like Adam Carter. He went up to Play Fight Cara Noir's school a couple of months ago. I encourage everyone to get as much different type of training as possible because it just benefits everyone. It benefits you as a wrestler. It benefits the coach to teach different people. So I'm a big proponent of encouraging people to get out there and do other things. But yeah, since we've come out of lockdown, since this pandemic, I'm a completely different person when it comes to wrestling, different type of wrestler too, just because I've changed the way I thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo your sentiments regarding getting out there and going to as many training schools as possible. I've spoken to tons of wrestlers on here that have done the very same. One interview that springs to mind probably from about 2 or 3 years ago was Echo Reed. And she said even back then that she was training everywhere with Reach, over in Norwich with the Knights, and wants to kind of train at as many places as possible. I think she's occasionally popping into New Wave with Brendan and Aluna Blue and all the fantastic talent there. Let's go to some questions before we carry on with mine. The questions that have come through over the last hour or so. Just some fun questions, random questions from Ashley Hain, watching us via YouTube. Thank you, Ashley. If you could go up against anyone, past or present, who would your dream opponent be? So, past or present, do you have a dream match, a dream opponent there, Bevan?
Now, my favorite wrestler, it differs. So the person who I think is the best wrestler of all time is Shawn Michaels, but my personal favorite is Rhino. I've always been a huge Rhino fan. So I would love to have a match against Shawn Michaels back in his prime, but I would also like to wrestle Rhino as well at any time. So yeah, Rhino, or actually Taz as well. I was always a big Taz fan because I've always been compared to Taz. Like, we have similar size, similar build. I do a lot of suplexes. I do some chokes and stuff like that. So I've always been compared to Taz a little bit, so having a match with Taz would be pretty cool too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not anywhere near his level, I don't think, but yeah, that would be sound. So I would say either Taz, Rhino, or Shawn Michaels would be great.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And Alex, I think we had a question from Alex earlier on. Alex Perez watching us via YouTube. I mentioned about some of the tremendous bumps you took during the street fight you had with Tom Fairman last October. But Alex is asking, what's probably the worst bump in your career as a wrestler? What's the worst bump you've taken?
I can think, just off the top of my head, I can think of two. One was a few years ago. I took an angle slam off the top rope. Now, it wasn't so much the bump itself on my back or anything. It's just I landed on my wrist a bit awkward and messed up my wrist. And it's never been the same since. So we're talking a good 4 years of my wrist being near enough broken. And I keep re-injuring it and it doesn't heal properly. So yeah, unfortunately, my wrist is a bit buggered from that. But that was a bit iffy. But another one was recent at one of the last Black Country Championship Wrestling shows. I took a chokeslam powerbomb from Wesker and MJ Grayson. It wasn't anything to do with those guys. Like, they took care of me perfectly. It was just the ring was a little bit solid. Well, I say a little bit. It was solid. There wasn't much give in it. And I kind of over-rotated a touch and kind of landed on the back of my head. And that knocked me a little bit silly, so that was a bit rough. But yeah, they're the two that spring to mind.
None of them pleasant by any means. And Ashley has been in touch again. Would you ever consider a Survivor Series type show with one or more of the other promotions? I mean, like I say, have you ever considered doing a gimmick style of show where, I don't know, you had like a team versus team faction warfare or something similar? Alex has suggested maybe a Survivor Series type show. Anything like that crossed your mind for future shows for No Mercy?
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. It hasn't happened yet, but I would 100% be up for it. Obviously, depending on who it was. We have actually done something similar last year around Survivor Series time. We did the War of the Cobras, where it was the 8 guys in the Iron Cobra tournament, 4-on-4. That was very interesting. That was the show where Shane Hooker decided to take the leap of faith off the balcony into the ring onto everyone else. So that was a spectacle and a half. You can see all of that on our YouTube, by the way. And yes, we have done something similar to that. But with regards to another promotion, yeah, I'd absolutely be up for that. 100%. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Keep your questions coming in. We're having a ton of fun. Keep your questions coming in for the Bastard Son. And you mentioned your kind of love for ECW, and certainly some vibes of the Sandman going on there with the cane, and some death-defying leaps over the top rope there. I think that's Act 2 trying to cushion the fall there. But tell us a bit about your alter ego. Now we know about Bevan and the Bastard Son, but then occasionally you turn into this guy, don't you? Occasionally you turn into I don't know how you would describe him. Maybe that is the Bastard Son, but who is that? And there we go. I'm feeling a little bit nervous now. Put it away. Put it away. But tell us about that character. And I think we spoke a bit before we went live, and it's kind of like your equivalent of Prince Devitt or Finn Balor and the Demon, isn't it? So that's your version of the Demon. Give us your kind of thought process behind him.
Well, I've always kind of had that moniker on the end of my name, like from the start. Which is very rare. Like that, I've had the same kind of, lack of a better term, gimmick. I don't really have a gimmick as they go. It's just I'm just myself turned up to 11. I'm just basically it's me giving myself an excuse to do horrible, violent things legally. So yeah, I don't really have a gimmick per se. So I wanted to start bringing something different into my persona towards the end of last year. So I was thinking about it for a while, and going back to the Halloween show, what Tom Furman, when he started being the way he was, and started tormenting me and started like begging me and goading me for a fight, I could feel like something bubbling up inside me. And I was like, because I've spent so long being Bevan, the owner of No Mercy, sitting behind a desk doing all of the admin stuff, I kind of forgot who I was in the ring a little bit. And I kind of lost a little bit of that confidence. And when Tom started goading me for a fight and was just prodding me, and then when he finally attacked me, it kind of, like, you can see this on our YouTube. There's a clip of when we went at it, when we started having a scrap after his match. It wasn't even a match, it was at the end of the show, and he busted me open, and I kind of, excuse the pun, I saw red, and we went at it. But that awoken something in me that I forgot that I had, and I realized that was the Bastard Son. Bevan is like, I'm the respectful dude, the happy dude who'll shake your hand and be really cool with you. But if you push me enough, if you goad me enough, then you'll get to see the Bastard Son. And as Tom Furman found out, not many people want to see that. So I'm trying to protect people. I try and keep that push down out of the way. But every now and again, he kind of he pops out every now and again if desperate times call for desperate measures, shall we say.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the Bastard Son, we got Dan Ellis watching us via Facebook. His name's not popping up on the screen, but I know it's Dan Ellis. Where did the Bastard Son name come from?
So it's a mixture of things. I'm a big fan of Phil Campbell, who was part of Motorhead. He had a band with 3 of his sons from illegitimate marriages, so bastards, and his name was called Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. And I was like, that is cool. I like that. That's really cool. And I also don't really get on with my father too much, so I was like, perfect. I'm a bastard. Let's put them together. Bevan the Bastard Son. I'm a big fan of alliteration as well, so Bevan the Bastard Son. It rolls off the tongue quite nicely, I found.
There we go. There we go. That's your question answered. A few of the people that have been in touch, Richard Roberts watching us via YouTube, saying that No Mercy should have a 24/7 belt. Maybe, but are you looking for other suggestions on possible championships there? But like I say, you've only got the one championship at the moment. That's the Combat Legacy. Any plans to bring any more to No Mercy soon?
100%. Yeah, we are actually in the process of getting our main belt designed right now. It should be done very, very soon. Cool. So I'm hoping to have it ready for our August show, which will be the next big show that we do. I got a lot of good plans for it, of how it's going to be contended for. Obviously, I'll bring that out nearer the time. But as for a 24/7 belt, I'm not a big fan of them. I will be honest. We will be having tag belts as well. We're going to be doing a big tag team tournament towards the end of the year as well. So we'll be bringing tag belts in at some point. We won't be having any women's titles, not because we don't want women fighting for titles. It's just that we have our titles as open. Anyone can fight for them. So obviously you see Harley Hudson and James Ellis and Lucia Lee had a match for the Combat Legacy. So we are absolutely full on equal opportunity, and we welcome intergender matches, intergender wrestling. I hate that term, intergender wrestling. To me, wrestling is wrestling. If it's a man versus a woman, or man versus a non-binary person, or anything, whatever people identify as, it's wrestling to me. So I hate the term intergender wrestling, so I never use it. So to me, it's like, it's open. Everyone and anyone can fight for the titles at No Mercy.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to bring up this picture again, because the championship bout, it's a beautiful bout, my friend. It's a beautiful bout for sure. And I'm sure all your others will be as well. Other questions that have come through. Richie Horrigan is suggesting a War Games match. There's a lot of people that are interested in the Survivor Series or War Games style matches. Ashley again, how about a War Games No Mercy versus New Wave versus Carnage and Attack? So let's get them all on board. We've got 4D Gaming watching us via YouTube. Bevan is a very lovely guy and deserves all the best at No Mercy. One of the best promotions in Wales and the southwest of England. So yeah, I'll take my hat off to you there. 4D Gaming, thank you very much for getting in touch. Yeah, another Facebook user here, tag team titles. If you are watching this via Facebook for this and for future streams or interviews from Wrestling with Johners, just go to streamyard.com/Facebook. Don't do it now, but do it after the show. And then the next time you drop onto one of my live streams, it will have your picture icon and your name, your tag there instead of just Facebook user. But it's all good. Let's just quickly scan my notes and see where we are. So here we go. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring you on. And it is all about this crew here. The No Mercy Wrestling Training School. Great bunch of guys and girls there. And you said that it came along just before the promotion did, just before No Mercy Wrestling. You had the training school. You spoke earlier about the genesis of all of it. But it's a great crop of talent there. And I recognise a few faces and a few names there. You mentioned earlier that you've had some seminars and some of the talent that have been down. Danny Jones, of course, has done a seminar. He's been a guest coach. Mike Bird. You mentioned Martin Kirby before as well. Mandrews has been down, and of course Joseph Connors. And did you say that Joseph Connors was coming down again very soon, or but you got somebody doing a seminar very soon? I forget who that was. That's it, Kelly Six, my apologies. So, I mean, some really, really good things going on in South Wales, some really, really good things going on in No Mercy there. You've got a fantastic crop of talent. How often do you meet? How often are the training sessions? And what sort of format, what sort of structure are they when you do meet up?
So we do, we train twice, sometimes 3 times a week. We have a beginners session on a Sunday morning, and then intermediate/advanced on a Wednesday evening. And then obviously sometimes we do an extra session depending if people are available. But yeah, like as I said earlier, we didn't set out to start doing classes at all. It was just going to be, I set the place up sort of like an open gym, like a 24/7 open gym where people can just pay a fee and just get the code and go in whenever they want to train, you know. So that worked out for a while. And then obviously after the lockdowns, after pandemic went down, people started actually wanting to do classes. And yeah, it was just getting people hounding me, start classes, start classes, start classes. So because I wasn't interested in taking on new trainees, like I need to put a disclaimer out there. I personally don't consider myself a top level wrestler. Now, a lot of people might be saying, "Oh, you know, I'm just trying to be humble, whatever." But I agree with what a lot of people have said. Like Brendan said it a couple of weeks ago when he was on, or whenever he was on. Like a school, you should look at the credentials of the school and the people that are training you. And granted, while I don't have like, you look at my career and you think he hasn't really been around, he hasn't been doing much. I've done a little bit, but obviously nowhere near the level of like the guys at New Way, for example, or some other schools around. But I know what I know. I'm a good coach in the sense of, because I used to coach kickboxing and various other things. I used to be a teacher in America, so I know how to teach people. I know how to coach people. So I limit myself to teaching beginners. I think that's what I'm qualified for. And we have been looking for a new head coach for a long time. And we've got something in the works. I'm not going to say much about it because I don't want to jinx it. We have got something in the works for a new head coach because as I said, I believe that a head coach of a wrestling school should have credentials behind them. You should look at them and say, this guy has done this. This is why he's in that position. And I totally agree with that. And yeah, I'm really proud of the level that No Mercy is at, where we can bring in. So if you don't want to, if you can't get to elsewhere, or if you're closer to us, or if you just feel like you want to dip your toe in, I feel like No Mercy is perfect for that. We can get you up to scratch with your fundamentals, or even further. And then if you did want to move on to somewhere else with a little bit, you know, coaches that have got something else going on or more going on, shall we say, that's totally fine. And I'm happy to be that stepping stone. You know, I feel like No Mercy is the place to be if you want a completely stress-free environment with no pressure whatsoever. Like if you walk into No Mercy, I'm not going to sit you down and say, you need to be making this career if you want to be here. Like that's not what we do. Like it's great if you want to do that, absolutely fine. But if you just want to do it once every week, every 2 weekends, or once every weekend, or has a hobby, or just do it for fitness, and you don't even want to be on a show, that's totally fine too, you know. And I think No Mercy is perfect environment for that because there's no pressure, there's no stress, and everyone is inclusive. There's no cliques. That's what I wanted to get that gone from No Mercy, because I've been in many schools where there's been a lot of different cliques, there's been a lot of different groups, and obviously certain groups, certain people may be favored by the head coach or whatever. So that was not going to be happening at No Mercy. I made sure from the start that was eradicated. So there's never any cliques at No Mercy. Everyone's inclusive. Everyone is a nice family. And I think that shows because we have a lot of people that's what they say they love about No Mercy. That's why they come back, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And some incredible talent there. Obviously, that was during the Danny Jones guest coach and Mike Bird there as well. But like you say, a fantastic stress-free environment, a great school to kind of learn your fundamentals and more if you so choose. But don't undersell yourself as a coach or a trainer. Like I say, you've done a fantastic job so far. It's got a good reputation for sure.
I'm just not a big fan of blowing. I'm not a big fan of blowing smoke up my own ass. A lot of my friends will tell you that I kind of undersell myself a lot. But yeah, No Mercy, we have everything you need. Like this is our selling point. I think is like I said, like we're very inclusive. We're very family oriented. We are, it's a very stress free environment, no pressure. But we also because I've got backgrounds in many different things. I've got my fingers in many different pies. I've got a degree in media, so We do a lot of media-based training at No Mercy. We do a lot of promo training. We do a lot of, how to sell yourself online, how to make yourself a brand, because that's what you need these days as a wrestler. You need to be a brand, and we do that as well. So we've got a promo area, we've got a gym area, we've got an in-house studio where I can make music for people. So it's basically like everything you need as a wrestler. Yeah, it's all under one roof. So I think that's a unique selling point that No Mercy has as well.
Absolutely. A few questions that have come through. I've got David watching us via YouTube. Would you ever consider doing a show or wrestling a show in Southampton? I don't know if he's thinking about hoping No Mercy will come down to Southampton, but any thoughts on Southampton? Nice little area.
I mean, hell yeah. If there's anywhere in Southampton wanted us, I would 100% consider that. If you mean me as a wrestler, again, yeah, without a doubt, I'll travel anywhere that they want me. But as for No Mercy, like we're pretty much concentrating on Caerphilly and the South Wales area for now. Will we move into England? Who knows? We'll see what happens. Obviously, this is only our first year, so as for doing shows. But we are branching out. We've got some shows lined up for West Wales, like Pembrokeshire, where I grew up as well, and various other places. So I'm not going to say too much right now, but I have got 3 or 4 new venues in the pipeline. So whether or not we move into England or not, I don't know yet. But who knows? We'll see.
Excellent. And going to bring up this picture. I noticed this possibly on your Twitter. I'm not sure. But here we go. So you were doing some, let's see, having a great time chatting to year 10, 11 business studies students about how you started your business, how you got No Mercy Training School and No Mercy Wrestling off the ground. And you were invited down to do a presentation to some business studies students. Tell us about that, because obviously that's a big deal, isn't it? Being invited down to talk about how you started your business and made a success of it. And it must have been something different for them because it was pro wrestling, not your everyday ordinary business to talk about.
Yeah. So it was very random. We were just invited down to the high school. So one of the guys that works there he's one of the No Mercy trainees. So I didn't ask him to. I didn't know he was going to do it. He must have put our name forward because business studies, the business studies group, they had a number of different businesses come in to do talks. They had your run-of-the-mill, I don't know, like car salesmen and restaurant owners, very, very things that you see every day, So like you said, having us there must have been really, really different because, probably not many of them knew that pro wrestling could be a business, and it was an amazing experience. Like, I love chatting. As you can probably tell, I love talking. So I like talking to people. I like getting to know people, and I love imparting. If I have any kind of knowledge to give to someone, I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to help anyone out. And another reason why I think that No Mercy is kind of where it is, because we're taken seriously as a business. There's too many wrestling companies, especially nowadays, that are still a little bit carny. They're still doing cash under the table deals. You get a brown envelope at the end of the night. It's never declared or anything like that. So there's still a lot of companies doing that. There's still a lot of companies, which is fine if that's what they want to do. I'm no one to judge, but No Mercy is a legitimate business. It's, we do everything by the book. We have everything in line, whether it be our safeguarding policy, our insurances. Another thing that a lot of wrestling companies, they don't have insurance, which is kind of scary when you think about it. But we have everything you need to have. We're above board with everything, and we're extremely, extremely open about everything we do. Like anything to do with No Mercy, you can go online and you can look it up. It's all there for you to read. So we're very, very transparent with our business dealings, and I think that is noticed, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it was like I don't have any business qualifications. Let me just put that out there right now. I never set out to be this like the businessman or anything, but I'd seem to be doing okay at it. So I think they saw that and they invited me in to talk to their group, the kids, about it. And yeah, as you said, the kids loved it because it was something completely different. They'd never had anything like that before, and yeah, so we did this presentation for them, and they loved it. They were absolutely in love with it, and they were all. I basically just told them, you don't need to be in a suit and tie. You don't need to come from a privileged background. You don't need to have degrees up the wazoo in business to make a business. You can do it off nothing. I came from nothing. I had no experience. I had no qualifications, and I'm doing okay. I'm making a living out of it. This is my full-time job now. I'm making a living from it, so I must be doing something right.
100%, and making a great success of it, and like I say, you're really demonstrating what you can do when you really dedicate yourself, and when you have that passion. But one thing we neglected to do was, if anybody's interested in getting in touch with yourself about joining the school and starting training with New Wave Wrestling, how can they do that? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you or the team to maybe come down, have a taster session, or just to find out more?
Well, first of all, it's No Mercy Wrestling, not New Wave.
My apologies.
I mean, that's fine if you want to go to New Wave as well.
I was 7 days ago. So, hi, Brendan.
Just giving Brendan a little plug there. But again, that's the beauty of both of us. We're not in competition. There's a healthy competition, of course there is. There's healthy competition between every company. But me and Brendan aren't like, oh, you can't go there, you can't go to No Mercy, you can't go to New Wave. We work together a lot. We do the ring for New Wave shows. You know what I mean? I'm having a few of his guys on a couple of my next Cobra shows. So we're always, again, going back to the whole Welsh scene, we're always working together, and that's what makes it brilliant. But if you want to get in touch, the best way is probably just through the website, nomercywrestling.co.uk, or you can get us on all of the social media at No Mercy Wrestle. That's the best ways.
Brilliant. And I'll have your socials running along the bottom of the screen momentarily. And apologies for that little faux pas there. No Mercy Wrestling, not New Wave. New Wave was last week. Old news. This is No Mercy Wrestling this week with the Bastard Son BEVAN. But before we ask you for your socials, just a reminder on who my next few guests are going to be. So over the weekend, of course, I dropped part 1 of my Legends Masterclass interview with Johnny Kidd. Episode 4 in the series. Previous guests include Marty Jones, Tony St. Clair, Adrian Street, and Miss Linda. And of course, Johnny Kidd. Part 1 is already out there. Please go and check that out on YouTube, and full audio interview available wherever you get your podcasts. This coming Monday, I've got another British legend on episode 289. James Mason will be coming onto the show Monday, the 6th of March, 8 p.m. live. James has got a very, very rich history spanning over the last 30 years. More recently, he's back on the Indies after his time with WWE and NXT UK as a coach there. So lots of really fun stories of James's time on the road and working for WWE and what he's up to more recently. So that's Monday. And then 24 hours later, I've got this interview here with Big Damo, doing some great things on the indies up and down the country. I've seen an awful lot of him at Progress Wrestling. Last week, I saw him at Progress and Rev Pro within 48 hours of one another. But I've been a big fan of Damo's for many, many years. So can't wait to speak to Damo about his fantastic career and what he's up to. And his kind of resurgence back on the indies since he left WWE a couple of years back. So some really, really great interviews to look forward to there. And I promised that I was going to bring up the ticker there. Now, just to make up for my little faux pas earlier, I've got your socials and I've got No Mercy Wrestling socials running along the bottom of the screen. So if any... No, you didn't hear that. But if any of my friends, family, followers, any of your followers want to get in touch, say hi, find out more about No Mercy, where can they do so? And I've got your socials running along the bottom of the screen in case anybody wants to get in touch with yourself.
Yeah, as I said, all of our socials are at No Mercy Wrestle. I think the only difference is YouTube and TikTok, you have to actually put the @ symbol in the thing. Otherwise, it's just at No Mercy Wrestle for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that jazz, everything you can think of. And then we just recently got a brand new website, nomercywrestling.co.uk. So that's all brand new and shiny and lovely. So if you want to pop onto there, it's got all of our information, anything you need to know about the training school, about our live events, about anything you need to know, really, about No Mercy. You can read out all of our policies on there. As I said, we're extremely transparent. We've got our safeguarding policies all there to read as well, which I know is very, very important, especially these days. So, yeah, anything at all you need to know, the best place to go is the website, I would say.
Brilliant. And I've also got this up here as well. Have you still got some merch available at the moment? There's a Straight Out of No Mercy
Yeah,
top there. Is that still available?
absolutely. Yeah, that's still available. We've got a shop on our website as well. It's just running across the top. It just says all of the different icons. You just click on shop and you can see all of our available merch, and it's
Brilliant.
always in stock. So we never run out of stock, which is great because we do
And
print on demand. So it's
there
all
we
good.
go. And you mentioned this St. David's Day sale up until midnight tomorrow, 15% off tickets. St.
Yeah,
David 48, and that's to get tickets for the next show, March the 19th. So there we go. Go and get your tickets at nomercywrestling.co.uk. But let's just get rid of that slide. And there we go, just back to us two again. But Bevan, it's been awesome speaking to you for an hour and 45. But
wow.
the time has absolutely flown. We've had a great time talking about No Mercy, of course, about your career and about the school. And before you go, I'm going to bring up one more graphic, and that is, of course, this one here. One final sell from yourself, sir, on why we should be getting tickets to Sweep the Leg a couple of Sundays' time, March the 19th. But a cracking lineup. We spoke about some of the matches earlier. A fantastic post from Elliot93. But
Yeah.
it's going to be a banger of a show, isn't it?
Oh, I cannot describe to you how excited I am for this. Like, as I said, it's the anniversary. We needed to make it special, so it's going to be massive. We're making everything bigger and better. Like some of the people that we haven't mentioned that weren't shown. You know, we've got Wildborn Mike Hitchman on the show. He's like personally, before I even got into wrestling, I was a huge fan of him anyway. And now we're peers. Now I know him well, and you know he's brilliant person. Obviously, like as many people have said before, legitimately probably the best trainer in Europe right now. He's so good at training people and a great wrestler as well. You've got Rio. We've got someone who's really starting to take off now is Rain Leverkusen. She's doing such good things. Obviously, recently became Maiden of Chaos as well. She's going to be on the show. It's just going to be fun. That's what we're aiming for this show. We're aiming for fun and to send people away just loving it, loving life, and can't wait to see the next one. And that's the aim of the day, just for fun.
There we go. And the final word goes to Ashley watching us on YouTube. Brendan versus Bevan. I think I've probably inadvertently set up that match with my couple of little mistakes there. So I apologise if I've caused any beef with Brendan White. But maybe you know, get Brendan on your show and have a little, get the Bastard Son out. Get that, you know, that could be a good hardcore match for sure. That could be a good hardcore match for sure. But Bevan, it's been awesome speaking to you for the last hour and 45 minutes. I want to thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with the show on March the 19th, and we'll catch you soon, my friend.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon, John. It's been really cool catching up.